Jake, so good to be here with you. So just so everyone knows, I'm here with Jake Dieterich, and really, really excited to pick your brain, Jake. For those who maybe don't know you, you're someone that I have been listening to and learning from for the last year and absorbing a lot of your knowledge. I know you have been in this space, which I want to get into, which is talking about decentralized networks and projects or businesses that are really operating within this space and the shift that we're seeing in the world move to this space. And I know for you, it was, what year are we? Say 5 years ago, you were part of really building and growing one of, I would say, the most successful decentralized networks at that time. So what I want to do, Jake, I have a heap of questions listed and I am just going to fire them your way because I feel like it's a really, I don't know if there's anything more important right now than for people to understand the shift that we're in. And by the shift, I mean that there is, what would you say? There is something going on in the sense of the technology in the finance world and that shift that is happening. And I feel like for anyone who is really new to the words that we're going to be talking about, which is, decentralization and Web3 and growing communities and, moving from centralized institutions to decentralized networks, that can seem a little bit, I have no idea what you're talking about. But in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, that will be as normal as, I opened up my email today and sent an email, and I'm using the technology of the internet and functions like the email. And we do that every single day. But 20 years ago, I would have been like, what is this? Or maybe 30, maybe I'm a bit older than that. So can you explain to the very new person what that shift is? What is happening in the technology and finance world right now?
Yeah, so I feel like we've saturated the current systems that we operate in. So if you get into, and we'll talk about later, like exactly what Web 2 is, but Web 2 is what we've seen grow from, the .com era up to this point, where there are centralized companies that have centralized investors. They funded companies. They produce products and services for all of us to utilize. And we have gotten diminishing benefit from it because those quarterly profits always have to be upticked to those investors. There's a cycle and a breakage inside of that cycle between a producer and a consumer. Because it's constantly being leached out to those investors. And then you stack on top of that, like our monetary systems, like getting away from hard money and having this fiat currencies that we're all starting to become aware of, like as it's being printed into oblivion and it's going through inflation and it's constantly being squeezed. And those institutions are constantly serving themselves first. So we're the ones that pay the price of it, almost like a hidden tax. As our purchasing power is devalued, the cost of goods and services are constantly going up to meet that. And we're actually just getting less and less in return of that. So it's a little bit of everything kind of divulging into one heading point. And it's, becoming very, very bad for humanity. So I feel like we've saturated that point of Web 2 interconnecting us, making commerce, making connection amongst each other very fast. Mm-hmm. But now it's been almost corrupted upon. It's self-serving to a select few that own these like corporate giants. And we as humanity and we as the consumers are the ones that are paying the price of all this. We've built all of this on our backs and we're the ones suffering because of it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I feel like someone listening in will go, that explains why I feel this way, like why I seem like I can't get ahead, why things are more difficult, why I have less ownership of anything. Like, so my brain goes to Web 2, with what you're saying, things like Netflix from an entertainment point of view, things like companies like Facebook or Instagram from that social side, Uber from a transport side, Amazon from consumer, like high level shopping side of things. Would I be right in saying, so that's the Web 2 structure? And we as the consumer, we as the everyday people, I mean, we built that in the sense of made it successful, but then the benefits of what they take, which isn't just money, it's data collection, and it's all the stuff that we think we're, we get to use it for free, but we don't. So they get to extract that and benefit. But those of us being society who have built it get left with no benefits. Am I right in explaining that with how Web 2 has grown, with what you mean, like we've saturated it, they've sucked everything out, and there's no benefit for the everyday person in a sense?
Right. That's 100% correct. So it's that central ownership.
Yep.
And you're right. Like every single one of those products and services, whether it's social media, all the way to any commerce out there, we shared it with friends, we connected with others. We built all of that, not realizing that we became the product itself.
Can you explain, can you go through Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 examples, just so that everyone can be super clear on that?
Yeah, so Web 1 was like that first iteration of the computers and the internet. So if you think about, maybe a small business back in the 80s getting into larger databases where they would connect their computers together in this office building to where they could actually store data, and they could access it from any one of these other devices on that network, but they could only read it. It was only like inputted into a database, and it was just a resource type benefit. You get into Web 2, that's when you could not only read the data, but you could write to the data as well. So that's whenever you see like the World Wide Web, where web pages came out. You had things like you're talking about, like email. You could chat on social media, anything that you could interact with as a user and start having a consumer base actually build into that. And then evolving past that to Web 3, Web 3 is you can read it, you can write to it, but you also own it. So now instead of having this, corporate tech giant at the top that owns every piece of infrastructure below it, they own the hardware, the server towers, and ultimately they own the consumers. Now you can take all of that process and bust it up to where whoever participates in that actually has true ownership in it. So that brings multi-level aspects to it. So you could own actually the products and services that are being built on top of it. You own the hardware because you're the one that's operating a piece of that server, and you're actually rewarded to do so. You have ownership over the network itself because you're participating in that network. You have a say-so and voting rights over the governance of where it moves collectively as a community.
I'd love to know, in your opinion, if someone is listening to this or they hear about it and they say, I don't know, like, why would that be adopted? Because, let's call them the big boys, the ones who do have control, they're not going to allow that. Or is it a matter of, no, this is evolution of technology. This is just the next phase we're going into. In your opinion, is it we are going there? This is happening. It's just a matter of when we transition over. And why is that? Because it sounds like there'd be a lot of benefit for, say, big corporation and those who benefit for this not to happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're not going to adopt, this next model, not right away at least. They may at some point be forced to adopt it. But yeah, I think it literally is, just to simplify, it's the next iteration of the internet. And to me, it's a repercussion. It's a repercussion of exploitation. We've slowly given up all of our power in the Web 2 space. We've slowly been eroded our purchasing power, all of these different things that we're starting to see degradation in humanity is because we've been exploited from that. So now that trajectory change is people saying, I've had enough of this. Let's change how things are done. Let's completely revolutionize the model. We can take the internet, we can take the systems that are built upon this network, and we can actually have true ownership over it. We can build the products and services that we deserve to have. We can take stake in the ownership of it. We can be rewarded to utilize all of this, and we can do this together. We no longer need this central authority telling us how this is going to operate and constantly just leeching off of us or treating us like we're farm animals to be milked for money. So to me, like it literally is just a repercussion, and that is the next evolution of the internet. And it's going to become a blueprint that everyone's going to start adopting into.
Yep, absolutely. Can you expand on that? Because you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but just give us an example, like a real world example of how decentralization makes sense. And it might be with one of the projects or just something like an industry, a business, just a real world example so people can really wrap their head around this.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally anything. The social media aspect that we were talking about earlier is a perfect example, I think. That if you take any one of them, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of those has that central company at the top. Again, we built the community that participate in this. We thought, this is cool. This is a way for us to connect and everything else, not realizing we were building ourselves to be productized and weaponized. And the big powerful thing about that is like collective, organized digital communities are almost like the new gold. Facebook can only thrive because we're all on there. We all have our captivity of our eyes on this platform. So then Facebook can actually productize us as the community on there. They can go reach out to any social media advertiser. They could reach out to Under Armour, Nike, Ford, Chevrolet, any business, and they can actually target us. They built a digital profile on each one of us. They know our likes, our dislikes, our interests, and they can actually target us, which that's in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I would rather see ads for things that I actually want to buy than things that I have no interest in whatsoever. So it can have value to it, but we built all of that and we're not participating in that at all. Facebook pulls in trillions and trillions of dollars just off of ad spend. And we did that. We're not even participating in that whatsoever. And think about if you change that model, it almost completely flips it upside down. So we're no longer in a censored space. We're no longer in an exploited space. We collectively own the platform. We all participate in it. We all actually own the infrastructure, the server, because it's split up amongst all of our node network to where we were incentivized and rewarded to build this network, this foundation that it could be built upon. And if we collectively own this platform and we can actually take ourselves as a community, we can organize ourselves, then we have the say so. We could, if we want to, go out to Nike or Chevrolet and say, hey, we have a collection of community members right here. Come market to us. Like, we actually want to see the products and services that we may want to buy, but we have the power in that now. We have the right to say, hey, we don't accept that other currency you were using with that central platform. You're going to have to utilize our currency, our reward mechanism. And so they would actually have to go to the market, purchase those rewards, and actually incentivize those through all of our users for their captivity of their eyes. So if you're going to advertise to a community, you're going to use that community's decentralized ecosystem.
Okay, loads of gold and clarity in that. because it's so a couple of things there, because I'm just such a visual person. So when you're explaining, really the community that builds the value gets the value returned to them. That's what's happening within this system. And the other thing that I'm hearing you say is, and I kind of just always bring it back to like it's 101 stuff, right? Like whatever we power up through our money, through our time, through where we buy, what we buy, our attention, like we're us as in the everyday people, whatever we give all of those resources to, we power up. So as this shift happens where people go, hey, that's an extraction model, that I'm getting no benefit there. Like, why am I participating in that? That's just draining all my resources, making me work longer, harder, getting me nothing back. Great, we're going to go build decentralized networks. I'm also hearing you saying like a lot of the businesses that we might love and we might use, it's not saying, hey, you're out. It's saying, hey, there's a new playground. Like, so add your value, do your thing, but it's going to be part of this system that supports people and gives back the value that they've created versus just taking from them. I know I've said that in a really simple way, but is that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's, if we're talking about like completely doing away with all of the Web 2 businesses, I don't think that's not going to happen, or at least not right away. They're going to be parallel to each other. They're going to run. But as people start to migrate, they start unplugging. They realize the exploitation. They realize that this break in this loop to where revenue is constantly being extracted from a community, they're going to realize that these products and services are getting worse and worse. The time and efforts into serving us is diminishing. So we're going to unplug from that, and we're going to plug in over here, and we're going to build over here to where that extraction's not happening. That revenue is coming back to the community, which can actually help a flywheel effect of increasing the quality of those products and services. So as people do start to unplug from Web 2, I do believe that those businesses will start to fail. And at some point, it may come out of survival to where they may have to join a community and a network that we're building, and we would welcome them because they actually do bring amazing technology. They will bring revenue. They will bring tools and resources, amazing labor and skill sets. All of that can come with it, but they can no longer play on their terms and their rules. They can't exploit us with their old model anymore. They have to play in our model because everyone in the blockchain is equal.
Yes.
So whenever they come in, they participate at like the level of a community member. And then they actually share in this with all of us, and that can make us all better.
Yes, love that. What do you believe are the main signs of adoption? Whether it be from the consumer, like those of us, people who we're in the network, we're part of it, and also businesses adopting this, because you've been part of building one of the most successful decentralized networks that there was, fastest growing. What are some of the signs that mainstream or that adoption is actually happening with this?
I mean, it's clear as day to me now, because back then, like, no one was even talking about it. It wasn't in the news, and if it was like maybe an article here or there. It wasn't super relevant. You'll start seeing different things like, the buzz of adoption on, say, Yahoo Finance or something. Like, now you can't even go to one of those big pages and not see someone talking about blockchain or Web3 or cryptocurrencies. So to me, like, we're poised now better than any other time in history. And of course, that adoption rate's only going to continue. I think a lot of people are starting to realize, they're starting to wake up and seeing the exploitations and start looking for other opportunities. And as they start learning the true power of blockchain and the true like sovereignty and the ownership that comes with it, they'll have, a clear decision that they want to actually join something like that. Something specifically like we're doing as an ecosystem, I think could become more clear, like on Coin Market Cap, CoinGecko, whenever people check all of these different things, retailers in the current blockchain and crypto space are only speculative. Like they look at maybe fundamentals of a blockchain, how many transactions per second can it do, what's their total supply, that's their current fundamentals, which to me is very, very laughable. To me, that's like having an arcade that has no games in it, but you can go in and exchange for tokens. Like there's no utility with anything in the current blockchain space. What we're doing is actually bringing true utility to the rewards. We're actually bringing real products and services that you can purchase with those rewards. So will we have speculators come by off of those fundamentals? I'm sure, but that's not what we're paying attention to. We're paying attention to people coming in, wanting a product and service, may not care whatsoever about blockchain or a token, but they have to purchase that token to participate within that community to get that product and service. So there's buying pressure on that token for the utility of it, not for speculation. So I think that that's other signs that you'll see that there's demand for the product or service, which in turn means demand for the token.
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to have you repeat yourself all the time, but there's things that you say which I think are really, really important for people to grasp. And it is explaining that. And if you can, again, and even give us examples of some of the products and services, because we'll go into some of the industries and the projects that are being launched within this ecosystem to help it make sense. But it is looking at like, why is this decentralized network with all of the projects that it's helping launch and get out into the world, why is it different to other blockchain projects? What is it that we have here?
Yeah, so utility is that primary difference. I look at it as we are a blockchain community of blockchain communities. So sure, we may have one specific impact brand in one specific industry, but we have an entire decentralized ecosystem within Connect that we all empower each other. Each one of those is to build a sustainable industry and something that can support your life or lifestyle. It's for necessities and everything else that people need to flourish and live with. And that's how we actually can change communities. It's proof of action. That's the actual algorithm or the protocol that operates the blockchain. So we're not talking about something cool that's a decentralized network that can move a reward around or you can trade it. We're talking about driving real world actions in where humanity needs to go to get us off this course of, to me, like the Titanic going towards an iceberg. So if we can incentivize and have rewards mechanisms to change those actions and behaviors, we literally can change the world. And it starts with a small level of awareness. Someone may come into the community and they see, oh, okay, I can get some more rewards. They may think just on their small surface level, like personal benefit of that, and then start growing into that. Like, okay, I can actually help my friends and family and get them participating in this. And then start realizing that as we have a collective whole, like we have a very big community and we have a very loud voice and everyone's actually changing these actions in the real world. Like we literally can change the world for the better. We can correct this path that we've gone, down the wrong road, that we've been exploited, that we accidentally gave our power up, and actually restore it back to like how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be sovereign individuals. We're supposed to have personal responsibility. We're supposed to love and care about others and help others. And all of these other distractions in the current world have inhibited us. We've forgotten all of that. And that's that like highest level of awareness of what this technology can truly do. So whatever level of adoption and your perspective that you currently are, just know like that's where the progression can go. So You know, I think that it can have a collective overall benefit for everyone.
Yeah, so beautifully said. Can you break down when we talk about rewards, right? Value returning back to the people building what is valuable, right? Who would have thought something so simple? Because you've mentioned node ownership and software, and someone who is really new, they're like, what are you even talking about? You've mentioned different ways, like, you know, obviously being a consumer, like the utility. You know, you will use products and services just like we do in the Web 2 world, but it'll just be in the Web 3 world. It mirrors our life. What are the core ways that the everyday person can really benefit and gain the value back within this system?
Yeah, so one of the biggest ways, and it's very easy, is to participate in the network itself. So a node, just to put that simply, it's a point in a network. So if you think about your home network, like your Wi-Fi, your printer, your cell phone, your computer, your iPad, all of those are actually a node on your network, but they're different types of nodes. So on a blockchain, we actually have a public ledger that verifies consensus of transactions. And we all have multiple nodes on this network. So as someone wants to send a reward from one wallet to another, all of those nodes verify that they have consensus amongst each other for pure security and transparency, that transaction can take place. So it's the foundation for the overall network. It's why we understand it to be trustless, which means I don't have to question. There's not a third party or a person that can make a human error or some type of corruption that can go within it. Whenever I do something and have a transaction on the network, I know where it's going. There also is, because it's that public ledger, it's transparent. I can audit it. I can look at where my transactions are going. Now it's cryptographic. I don't know whose wallet is whose unless it's publicly disclosed, but I can actually see all of the transactions on top of it. One of the coolest aspects is like how we vote. I actually know where my vote went towards a proposal. You know, in our government elections, I have no idea where my vote went. Like, they say it went here, but I really don't know because that's a Web 2 system. So participating with a node, like, why would you do that? You're actually incentivized, and it's built into the algorithm to build out this network. So you get daily distribution of rewards. And again, like, those rewards are yours. They are your sole custody in your wallet that you have 100% control of. No one else can take them away from you. So whatever you decide to do with this.
Yes, let's I just want to hit on that. When someone goes, cool, I've got rewards, like what, like Qantas frequent flyers, what can they do with those rewards? Why are they so valuable, or even potentially valuable?
Yeah, I mean, that, like you said, like frequent flyers, that's a rewards mechanism that's used in the Web 2 world, but you don't truly own those. Like, if that airline decided, hey, we're going to do away with this program, we're going to change, you know, how much you can purchase with these miles or anything, they absolutely have the right to do that because they own that system. But in Web3, we own all of this. Now, as a community, if we decide to collectively change it for some type of sustainability, we can make it better, we can make it worse, then we have the right to do that as a community, but no one can actually change that. So you can use these rewards within that ecosystem for the utility aspect of it. You can hold them. You could sell them on a secondary market. And remember that that's a key aspect because there's a finite amount of most of these impact brand nodes.
Yeah.
So if there's 100,000, like there's only 100,000 nodes inside of that brand, the whole world's not going to be able to participate as a node owner. That means that infrastructure is built, it's robust, it's secure, and it has this foundation laid. So as products and services start to grow on top of this network, the consumers need the reward to come in to get those products and services. So that secondary market opens up to where that liquidity provision happens so that someone could come in and join, because the rest of the world, there's 8 billion people that are not going to be getting rewards from a node. So they have to source them from another place. But again, like there's multiple aspects, like within the Grow network, I utilize my Grow and I purchase steaks and beef and different food every single month. With Green, I pay my power bill every single month. With Element, I actually buy gold and silver with it. With Eyes, I buy my supplements. Like there's all kinds of utility aspect outside of that's like the main driver of all of this.
Yeah, so awesome. So there's definitely that ownership piece that you're talking about. That's where my brain goes. It's like having ownership in this infrastructure, but that's not a for everyone forever thing. There is only so many nodes within each blockchain project. And so there is that ownership. Then there's the participation. So being a customer, we're customers of everything, but being rewarded from being a customer within this space, and then helping contribute to grow the network, which again, if you bring it back to Web 2 stuff, that's just like any business. No business can exist or be successful without a customer base. So it's kind of like taking the same principles that we already know, but rather than trying to fit into, have this Web3 blockchain space fit into them, it's like, no, we're bringing them over into this whole other playground, which is just, it's, as you said, I think you said it so beautifully. And if people can get this is where I don't want to say take our power back. I feel like that is just, it's said a lot, but it's true. It is really, I think so many people can say, I don't know what I can do to change the world. The world feels a bit off. The world feels a bit shitty. It feels a bit controlled. And I think what I want to say to people is that, yeah, it is struggling a little bit, but the solution already exists. Like, that's what I'm so grateful for. It's not that we have to come up with this. It's already been building. Now we just have to participate. Now we just have to put all of our valuable resources, which, like I said, it's our attention, it's our time, it's our money, it's our participation, goes that way. And that's when we get to see a shift. What I'd love to do, I want to talk about just a few core industries and projects to really hammer home utility. So the everyday person, it's like, I get the shift of I'm still using the same thing, same service, same product, like it mirrors my life, but I'm doing it in a better way. Like, as simple as that is. So can we start with, I want to start with Win blockchain. And would I say Blockbot as the product, but really we're talking about an AI space. Can we talk about like what's the shift and why is it important for AI, which everyone knows about right now, but why blockchain's the best partner for it? And so what we're doing within our blockchain, which is going to be so much better for humanity versus just letting AI run its course. And look, I heard someone else say this week, it's like, it's not like we're going to take out chat GPT. It's not about that, but it's about providing this other avenue where we can participate with this technology, but AI and blockchain together. So can you give us an example of, let's talk about Win and the product and utility within that space first?
Yeah. And I mean, you're right that we're watching the world go down this path of like what I call like degradation. Yeah. And it really becomes scary whenever you talk about AI, because AI magnifies anything. Like if you thought search engine optimization was bad, if you thought, all the ad targeting was bad, what about whenever you have a computer that knows literally everything about you and can process speeds at, tremendous rates? And it actually feeds you what that central company calls its truth. It can almost rewire humanity in that direction of that centralized agenda. So like to me alone, that's scary enough to say we need to do something different about that. Because AI is powerful. It's an amazing tool, amazing resource, but it's a dual-edged sword. If it's used in the wrong way, it can be really scary. If it's used in the right way, so if you talk about decentralized ownership, where it's fed a collective truth, where it's owned by everyone and it doesn't have a central agenda, that's a powerful tool and resource that actually helps us. And then if you get into the rewards aspect of it, that's our community's currency. That's how we purchase these products and services. I'm actually rewarded annually to cover my subscription. So I'm not just, I took what was replacement spending towards a tool that, could eventually and probably will be built down a very bad road, and instead divert that revenue over here through the WIN token and through the WIN blockchain. Now, that also is decentralized as far as, computation servers and everything else, that gives me privacy over my data. It's not being harvested and collected over here and building a profile. Over here, I own my profile. I own my digital self and my identity. So because it's not being leached and going somewhere else, I can actually access the control over that. I can have it think like me. I can have it operate like me and help me with the mundane tasks in my life. So I don't have to worry with the focus on top of that. And then you mentioned the aspect of like connecting with all of the other blockchains. Instead of me having to, take my blood sample, for instance, and if I find out I'm like deficient in a certain vitamin, well, now I could actually have my AI analyze that. And I did that through, say, the Galvin blockchain, which I own my private data for my health. And let's say it analyzed something like, oh, you're deficient in iron. I see that you eat meat. We should probably get you some red meat to start implementing more into your diet. So it could actually take that data in, process it, go over to Grow, and say, okay, you need to purchase this red meat. It's actually transparent. You can see that it had no pesticides sprayed on the food that it ate. It wasn't injected with any type of hormones or antibiotics. So this is going to be a healthy choice for you. It may actually take some of my rewards, liquidate them through the Switch reward card platform, and I can actually okay that and it order and ship it to my address. So it took all of that may take some time and did all of that for me to actually, better my life and better my health. And it supported a lot of our ecosystem. So like as this interoperability from chain ecosystem to chain ecosystem becomes much easier and much more aware and much more transparent. And then if you think about the WIN blockchain and how it supports all of this, like all of these are products and services and revenue being diverted from the Web 2 world. As it starts coming in, it's actually being diverted through these blockchains. So because I'm participating at a high level in the WIN blockchain, I actually share in that like sales index as it comes through. I get node support rewards from all of that revenue that's coming in. And that's like a super powerful thing. If you think about positioning yourself in a network, almost like a toll road, and as that traffic starts coming through, you're actually rewarded with more benefit because you actually help build that toll road.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's really, really cool. I want to dial in on a couple of the projects and just like hammer home, get us really clear on, I guess, what we're probably struggling in, like what we're seeing the no benefit is within that space, and then how transitioning to this, having it being in the blockchain space actually gives us benefit. Let's go Grow. I want to stick on that. So Grow is the ag blockchain. So think of food. It's like, who eats food? We all do. So for me, it was the one that made everything click. And I think because it was that, it was the first one I had utility with. So I own a grow node. I took those rewards, my grow rewards, and I buy my meat here in Australia because we launched it was about a year ago. We've got the first farmers and everyone on board. So I buy my pork, my beef packs, and I was able to use my grow tokens to do that. So can you explain, okay, why is grow so important within this space? What problem does it solve?
Yeah, and what's crazy to think about, like blockchains, it solves so many problems. Like it makes you aware of problems on like many different variables. So to me, like the number one problem is no one knows where their food's coming from. So like we're eating trash. It's starting to become, more apparent like that there are known carcinogenic things in our food and just things that are really bad for us that we had no idea we've been eating. And that's because you don't know where that stuff came from. With blockchain, you can have that transparency. Again, like I talked about buying my steaks. I know if it was grass-fed, if it was corn finished, how much of that it ate in its entire life. If there was pesticide sprayed on any of that, again, if it had any type of hormonal injections, antibiotic injections. So I actually get to see the health aspects that go into that food all the way from the life of the animal to my dinner plate. So that's like the key thing to me is that health aspect of it. But if you think about the farmer side, farmers are being squeezed just as bad as the consumer is. They're held over the barrel because of centralized financing. They're told and controlled because of that. So if they take lending money, that lender or that institution tells them, hey, we need to get our investment back. So I want you to pump that thing full of steroids so I can get my money back as soon as possible. And I can't afford to lose my money, so pump it full of antibiotics. And it's just a broken model. What if we can decentralize the finance of that? What if there could be NFTs that the community and the consumers could participate in the adoption and the growth and raising of our cattle or any food for that matter? So now the farmer still gets the funding that they need, but they can actually operate how they want to. And they can operate on what we as consumers deserve to have as our food. And you can get into all the other aspects of like, how farmers can be rewarded and they participate in this ecosystem just like we do as a consumer. So we have a very symbiotic relationship amongst both of us, and tons of different products and services coming in, if you're talking about carbon offsets and different things that they can actually help us ecologically on Earth.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, let's talk about Switch. So Switch is the banking arm and project. What would you say to that in the sense of how are we struggling in that space at the moment? What are we experiencing? And what's one or two of the core problems it's going to help us solve?
Yeah, Switch is cool because it has a foot in both, like in the Web 2 banking side and the Web 3 crypto side. So I'm sure all of y'all know how hard it is to on-ramp into the crypto space. We've had bank accounts be closed, telling you can't participate in that, and truly like just taking control over your money. And you would question like, well, what are you talking about? That's my money. And they have completely centralized this aspect. And there's so many problems in the banking industry. Like if you look at fiat currencies to quantitative easement to inflation, if you get into fractionalized banking where they actually lend out 90% than they have on hand, to where if every single person actually tried to go get their money out of the bank, they literally couldn't because it's created out of thin air for debt. If you want to learn more about the problems and how that will actually probably scare you a little bit to think in a different way, go read the Creature of Jekyll Island. It will talk to you about centralized currencies and fiat currencies and how they came about and why they actually came about. So I think solving a little bit of the banking side, but that on ramp and off ramp to Web3, because the Web3 side is really, clunky. It's really tough as well when it comes to trying to get the cryptocurrency that you want or that you need, because we're actually talking about utilizing it. So if you're talking about exchanging it, they have a debit card, so you'll be able to go utilize your rewards in the real world for things that are still operating in the Web 2 system, things that aren't adopting right away and directly accept rewards for their products and services. So it helps ease this process so that we can actually live in both worlds at the same time. Mm-hmm. So Switch reward cards actually the sole reason why I'm able to live off of crypto. I was scared for years. A lot of people were like, are you gonna leave your job? What are you gonna do with all of this? And I really didn't have that many avenues to go through until Switch reward card came out, and I started utilizing it, and it's actually opened up a whole new way for me to live. So it's a very, very powerful project for both onboarding new customers and helping them get involved in the Web3 space, and then also just to be able to sustain on.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, what about last couple? Let's dive in. Galvin, you've mentioned, which is really about health. Let's go there.
Yeah.
What are the benefits? What's it going to flip?
If you think about your health data, like it's spread out in multiple different Web 2 systems. You go to one doctor and they may list you down like some of your products or some of your problems. And then you go over to this doctor and they don't have those. So then, how do you get your health profile over to all these different places? And, it can become very scary. Like, I know I've talked to some people in our community that have talked about like, this doctor prescribes them this medication and then this doctor prescribes them this medication. And either they have unfortunately found out that you can't mix those two medications, and they've spoke about deaths in their family or friends because that communication pathway is not there. And it becomes very apparent that your health data should be yours. Like, you should be able to take this wherever you go and be able to like collectively communicate that. And not only that, your health data is actually very, very, very valuable to these central authorities. It's sold. It makes a ton of money. They do a lot of statistics and area data analytics and all kinds of different things that they monetize it with that you're not benefiting from. If you owned it, you would at least have the right to say so. Like, without it being done on your behalf without you even knowing that. Like, I guarantee you a lot of people on this call don't know that it's being monetized. But if you own it, then you can deploy it. You can decide like, yeah, you can use my health data for this study and actually be rewarded to do so. And then as you tap into like further integrations, it's getting into like what we were talking about earlier about actionable incentives. Like, how do we actually change the world? How do we make people become more active and make the healthy lifestyle choices that they should be doing? It's a rewards mechanism that can incentivize that. So like, I go to the gym and I actually get rewarded for checking into my gym. I actually get rewarded for getting my heart minutes on my watch. I actually get rewarded for going to purchase supplements, for going to the chiropractor or massage therapy. All of these different like good life choices and health choices for your wellness and well-being reward you. They have amazing AI integration that you can check in. It gives you a really good detailed report. It goes off of, I don't remember how many, like ridiculous amount, like 50,000 voice markers that let you know where your energy levels are, if you're depressed or not. And it's, good data for you to collectively have that who knows what it could be used for. You could actually have provable data that you could share with a life insurance company someday that they know you're not lying because you actually have the data that backs it up, that they may give you a discount on a premium because they know you make healthy choices. And then, if we ever tap into healthcare and actually having a community of healthcare providers and different things that utilize the network. So to me, the sky almost becomes the limit with not just Galvin, but any project in general, because just like whenever the cell phone towers were being built, and they, at the time you could only just maybe use a pager and ping data, they had no idea that someday we'd be using these networks for like what we're doing now, like maybe viewing a podcast or filming a podcast on it. So it really opens up a revolutionary world and something that we know is fundamentally broken, which is healthcare.
Yeah. Amazing. Can you take us back as we wrap up to your time with, I know Gala was the first decentralized network that you were involved with. What was it that, I don't know, what got you involved? Like, what were you looking for, or what did you see that was like, this is going to be the big shift?
Yeah, well, I was actually lucky, like super lucky. I'm so grateful that this even happened. But I had a friend that peeled my eyes open, and he basically forced me to even just create a crypto wallet, because at the time I despised crypto, like Bitcoin, everything else. I was a traditional investor. I invested in securities. I traded stocks, options, futures. I invested in real estate. And I listened to those experts, the Warren Buffetts, the Jamie Dimons, and all of them talking about, Bitcoin's a scam. And I agreed with it. I was like, someone's just selling this number on the internet. Like, what even is that? And it's going parabolic. No, that's tulip craze. That's going to go through this parabolic curve crash, and then it's going to go away forever. And I was missing that key aspect of the underlying infrastructure. I had no understanding of blockchain. I had no idea what a node or a miner was, how the network worked, that it didn't need trusted third parties or anything. So whenever I learned about the Gala project, it was someone taking me to the side, people much smarter than me, that I actually decided, okay, maybe I'm missing something here. I'm going to hear them out. And he opened my eyes. He talked about the problems in the gaming industry, and the analogies that he gave me helped me understand this underlying infrastructure and how you can participate in it. He told me, so think about the top game at the time. He was talking about Fortnite. He said, kids play this game, and it's an endless black hole of money going into it. They buy all these power-ups for the game. They purchase the skins for the weapons and the characters and all this other stuff. And then nothing ever comes out of it. They keep just rebranding the game, and it becomes diminishing in entertainment for the consumer. So I said, what if, and the other aspect that he brought up was, you don't own any of that stuff. Like, again, it's a black hole of money going in. It's stored on this central server owned by the gaming company. If they decide one day they want to wipe all that out and delete that, they could absolutely do that. He said, what if you take that server and you bust it up into 100,000 pieces, and you can actually buy one of those pieces and operate it? You're actually building the infrastructure that everything sustains on. Now you actually have your own self-custody wallet, that if you have one of these gaming items, you actually have an asset that you're playing with in this game. So if someone gets bored with the game, they could sell it and purchase an asset in a different game and continue going through this ecosystem. And you're rewarded for owning that piece of that server, a piece of that infrastructure. So as you get more rewards, you can utilize them for inside of the games, or whenever other consumers that aren't node owners building that infrastructure, they're going to want to play the games, and they're going to need those rewards so that they can play them. So you can actually sell them on that market. So he really opened my eyes to how powerful the ownership aspect of that was. And I wasn't a big gamer. I used to be, but at the time, I was really big and, diving into my career and my entrepreneurship and everything else, that it kind of merged a little bit of those two worlds where I knew that I wanted to participate in that. So, I picked up 4 nodes is what I could afford at that time.
Yeah, amazing. Jake, just to wrap up, I would love to, I guess, just get your vision of if what you believe is going to happen in this space actually happens. How does that change things for the everyday person, the normal person, in just the best way in life? And why is it really important to not look away at this right now, but to participate?
I look at all of this as like, it can become a self-fulfilled prophecy if enough people want it. We can change anything in the world if you have a collective people doing something. If you look at, and it's done in small portions in different places, like you'll look at protesters or you'll look at strikers where they go strike and picket outside of their workplace, and they get the wages that they deserve, or the culture, or they get treated how they should be. But they demand that power. But you don't really see that organized structure too often. Like sometimes whenever people are talking about the strikes, maybe 3 of them show up out front, the rest of them chicken out, they clock in, and they keep settling for the less that they want. And then maybe those 3 go and get fired or something like that. They didn't have that collective whole to come over and join forces so that they could all demand what it is that they deserve. Mm-hmm. So as we gain our adoption of community members, and as we gain consumers, like we literally can rewrite the framework of the world. And I'm not like saying that, that's a real thing. We literally can change the way that the world operates if we have enough people join us on this front. And I would love to say I would love to put a number on there and say you'll financially benefit from something like this, but I don't make any type of financial claims to anything. I have my personal story with one project, and I have proof of all of that it's worked really well. I believe 100% in what we're doing. I believe in the mission that we're doing, and I really think that it'll change your life for the better in different facets. It's completely changed my mindset. It's changed me to be a community person. Even just small things that I see, even in the Web 2 world, where if I'm a community member in that, I want to participate in it because I feel like I still have some true, small ownership as a community member. I report things to our local municipality, like if a sign's down, small little stupid things that I didn't used to do, but I take ownership in it. Like if I live here, I need to make it a better place. And to me, that social benefit of all of us starting to take that frame set, that mindset, can actually change how the world operates and make it a much better place. So again, this community and the opportunity for me to build in it has changed my life for the better. It's changed my family's life for the better. And I really hope that everyone else can have that as well.
Jake, just want to say a massive thank you. And I just appreciate you. I mean, you've basically just hammered home that we become better humans when we step into this space because we have ownership. We take back a lot of that, being in charge, having a voice, working out where our power, our resources go. And it is, we just become better humans. So I just want to thank you and say I appreciate your knowledge and everything that you are giving to everyone. I truly do soak it all up. You have this really special way to simplify complex things and words that might be new to people and just bring it down to lay terms. And that's something I appreciate. I need that. So just want to say a big thank you. And no doubt I look forward to doing another one of these calls with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Jake.